Mel, so good to see you. Thank you. If you don't know Mel, and she hasn't come up on your screen yet, because this is how the video thing works. Mel, Melinda Farrell, Australian by birth, but worldwide by experience. Freelance broadcaster, writer, cricket journalist, other sports as well. What haven't you done? What sports haven't you touched yet?
You know what? A lot, because I was a generic. I did do a lot of generic sports reporting at Fox Sports for a while, and even out here, I'm in Orange, which is my hometown at the moment, and even for the local television station, I used to be a general sports reporter. So that involved everything from bowling, like indoor, what do you call it? 10-pin bowling, that's it. 10-pin bowling to riding to, all sorts of stuff, even local cricket. That was really funny because Trent Copeland used to play in the Bathurst and Orange inter-district competition, the BOIDC. And this is before, and I always used to end up having to write stuff about Trent Copeland long before I knew him and before he was playing for New South Wales and Australia, which is quite funny. So I did a lot of sports. I did a lot of rugby league. That was quite big. I used to do rugby league in the winter here and cricket in the summer. But then also for Fox Sports, I did a lot of Superbikes. So I used to go down to Phillip Island and like get down in pit lane interviewing international riders on pit lane. It was amazing.
Like who?
Carlos Checker and Leon Haslam.
Carl Fogarty? What about Carl Fogarty?
No, not Carl Fogarty, because he was doing...
Or before?
Yeah, Troy Corser, well-known Australian Superbikes rider as well. Yeah, there were quite a few of them.
Was there an Australian guy, Phillips, as well? He rode bikes? Phillips?
Wayne Phillips. Yeah, he was, that was well before. So even Troy Corser was before. He was sort of pretty much retired and stuff. But I used to go down and interview ex-riders and the riders and various people like that. So that's weird. That seems like a bizarre lifetime ago. I mean, I knew nothing about bikes. I had to learn pretty quickly. So that's what happens. Is you get a sport.
You're not an Australian bogan then? You're not a petrol head?
No, I'm not. Oh, my brothers had bikes. I mean, I grew up on an orchard. So we were all about in the orchard. My brothers all had motorbikes and utes and second-hand cars and all that kind of stuff.
What kind of utes were they? Were they Kingswoods and what were they?
Old ute. We'd have the trucks. We've got some great old photos of me and my cousins playing on the back of my dad's truck that he used to
shoot rabbits on.
This has actually gone in a direction I didn't think it would. My dad was a local councillor, and so he was quite a larrikin, and when it came around to election time...
Thank you. I've got that on my bingo. I can tick that one off. Larrikin. Thank you.
He was incredibly cheeky. But anyway, he used to drive around in his beat up old truck, and he'd have like, what was the slogan? Oh my God, it was something like "Progress Yes, Vote One Farrell" that I helped paint in these garish sort of signs on the back of this really ropey old truck. It was about as country and unpolitics-like as you could possibly imagine. It was so ropey.
Was it like this? Was it like that?
Yeah.
I'm out the window.
And he had a badge making machine. So I used to make him little badges for the election day as well. Yeah. Vote One Farrell. I don't know. It was great. So I didn't expect to be telling you that. That's weird.
Cool. I love that. I didn't even know that.
Country upbringing. Yeah. So there you go.
Where's Orange, Mel? Where's Orange? We know of like Orange County or Orange State or whatever on the west coast of the US. You're not there.
Right.
Where is Orange?
Center of the universe, man. It's about 3.5 to 4 hours drive west of Sydney. So from Sydney, you go west over the Blue Mountains.
Yep.
As I like to say, keep going west until you have to duck to let the sun go down, and then you know you're there.
Okay.
And it's where Phoebe Litchfield is from. If you've seen videos of Phoebe Litchfield going viral in the nets, she's going to be a big star of the women's game.
And she's from Orange.
She is from Orange, yes. She's all over.
Has she been down the orchard smacking apples off the trees?
No, we don't have the orchard anymore. I'm afraid we went bust as far as the orchard went. We had to sell up. So, yeah, that was, drought and hail and all that sort of stuff. So we lost the property quite a while ago, quite a few years ago. So, so we don't have that anymore. But
what did you grow? What kind of what apples did you have out there?
Yeah. So
ones?
Orange used to be known as Australia's Apple City.
Yeah.
No oranges here. It's too cold for
oranges.
But
did you grow some green ones? Some green apples and some red ones?
Yeah. Delicious. Granny Smith, Jonathan, Snowies. We also grew cherries, different varieties of cherries, pears, plums. They were our 4 crops: cherries, pears, plums, and apples.
Awesome. Did you get involved? Did you dig some trees and do some weeding and do some picking?
No, I used to pick them. Mostly, well, I'd pick the cherries and eat them. Make myself sick on cherries. Actually, I had. It was a really nice thing. My father passed away many years ago, but when I was a kid, I have a really strong memory of every summer, every December. So in the summer, school holidays would be coming around, and my dad used to come up. He'd be wearing his khaki or orchard clothes and his old battered hat, and he'd walk up to the house every day, and I would run out to meet him. And I would stick my hand in his pockets, and every day, pockets empty. And then the first day the cherries were ripe, I'd reach into his pocket and pull out a handful of ripe cherries. Yes. And so every single year we did this. So every year I got the first cherries of the crop, basically. So it was our little thing that I always remember that.
Were you the special child?
Yeah, my family calls me the golden child. I was a big surprise. So my brothers, I'm the youngest by a long way. So my next oldest, the next oldest is 10 years older than me, and my oldest brother is like 17, 18 years older than me. So so I've got a lot of like nieces and nephews, and I'm closer in age to the older ones than I am to my brothers and sisters. So they're kind of like my brothers and sisters. So I was a very, very late surprise. My grandfather was not happy, and my grandmother said she was going to move to New Zealand. Weirdly enough, I'm not just saying. She said when she found out Mum was going to have another child, she at an older age, she's like, I'm moving to New Zealand. And my sister said if I was a boy, she was going to run away from home. So my dad, having his sense of humor when I was born, went and told my sister that I was a boy, and she literally packed a bag and was halfway down the lane until my dad went running after her to tell her that no, I was actually a girl. So she stayed.
Where did Melinda come from? Because obviously they had a long time to think about. Geez, what are we going to call this third one? Where'd that come from then?
I don't know. It's weird. They had a lot of arguments. I was nearly a Sue, but that's my middle name. I don't know where that came from. No one is called Melinda. I don't know. I think they just liked the name. There's no family connection or anything like that. So, yeah.
They gave you plenty of options. You could be Mel if you wanted to be. You could be a Linda. You can be a M. You can be a Sue if you really wanted to be a Sue. So they did give you some options. Yeah.
Well, the weird thing is, so my family nickname is actually Lindy. So my family always called me Lindy. I was Lindy Lou when I was a little girl. Always Lindy Lou.
That comes with a connotation. It's sort of, Lindy, doesn't it?
Down south with Grandma making some squirrel pot pie with Linda Lou.
Yeah.
God, that was really bad. God, that was bad. Yeah, so I don't know. Yeah, I was Lindy Lou. But then it wasn't until I was in high school that I was always Melinda amongst my friends. And then they decided it was too long. And I think I was in year 11 and they said Mel. So it's really weird. So for me, it's really weird if any family member calls me Mel. Like, that's not my name.
Yeah.
A couple of good friends will call me Lindy as sort of a bit of a joke, but so it's weird. It's like I have secret identity, 2 identities, Lindy and Mel.
Yeah, but given what you've done, given where you've been and the people, you do have that other personality, don't you? You have this home personality, you have the friend personality, you have the in the press box personality, and you have many different. We all do. We have many different. How do you? So when you said many different name personalities, well, you do anyway, don't you?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I suppose so. I suppose you can be a different person amongst different groups, and I suppose I've had that because, you know, I've had a life in England and I've had a life in Australia, and very different groups of friends. So
you've looked like Sheena Easton in India. That was an impressive night tonight, Matthew. I'm going to be Sheena Easton in India. That was a great makeup job that night.
Oh my God, I'll never forget that. Bless. So in case people don't know, so it was you, me, Dirk Nannis, Ajit Agakar, and Daryl Cullinan.
Correct.
What a bizarre group of people presenting a television show in India called The Friendly Toast.
Breakfast show, primetime
breakfast show on the IPL, and we used to stay up at night until we didn't sometimes finish recording until like 2 a.m.
Oh, after that.
And we had
after that. Yeah,
yes.
a couple of them we didn't finish till 3:15.
Yes, and I used to disappear to get my hair and makeup done, and I found that a bit challenging. But yeah, I don't think they were used to blonde hair for starters. And yeah, I do remember one time when they brought out the crimping iron, like the 1980s crimping iron, and I was wearing black that day, and I came back out and I was wearing, it was full like rock chick, heavy metal makeup with crimped hair, and you and Dirk Nannis just burst out laughing and were absolutely peeing yourselves laughing.
We had nothing to say about being a bogan Australian, zero to do with it. There was nothing. There was no Joan Jett references. There was nothing like that. No.
I still remember you texted me. You texted to our little WhatsApp group. There were 2 pictures. There was a picture of Barbie, like normal Barbie, and then there was a picture of rock chick Barbie with crimped hair, and it was like the before and after of me in makeup. That was
actually. Actually, I'm pretty funny sometimes. That's quite good, actually. That's pretty good for me. I'm glad you remembered that, because it took some time to compile those 2 pictures and slice them together. But that was fun. I did want to come in the next day in spandex and a ripped singlet with full sort of Poison Motley Crue makeup and try my best. But good. How? I mean, give me some of the countries you've travelled and worked in. Because this is fun.
Oh, well, so for cricket, so the only countries that I've covered cricket in are actually not that many. So obviously Australia. Well, there's Australia and England that are main 2, and I've done a few lengthy tours of India of like 2 and 3 months. New Zealand, which was one of my favourites ever, 2016, that Australia-New Zealand one where Brendan McCullum scored the fastest ton, and at Hagley Oval. I'll never forget that in my life. It was just amazing. We were laughing in the press box because it was just so ridiculous. But I love New Zealand, and that was an amazing country to tour. And the Caribbean. So in the Caribbean for the Women's T20 World Cup, we were in Guyana, St. Lucia and Antigua. So I got to those places. So they're the only cricket ones. The other country that I've worked in, this is kind of really random, but I took this very random job it was ages ago. I was back in Australia, so it was before really I started reporting, and I took a job on the 2008, God, it was 12 years ago, I can't believe it, Asian Games in Qatar.
Right.
So I lived in Doha. So I was there for 6 months. Unbelievable job, the hardest job I've ever done in many ways. It took a huge physical toll, and then travelled around the Middle East. So I was incredibly lucky because I got to travel through Syria in particular, and I absolutely loved Syria. We loved it so much that we went to Jordan, and then we went back to Syria because we just loved Damascus so much. We wanted to go back there. Then traveling through Lebanon and Oman and some of those countries. So that was a wild experience. I've never experienced anything like that. A huge opening and closing ceremony where we were working 7 days a week, 15 hours a day, getting vitamin B jabs and taking spirulina to keep us going. In that country. It was incredible, working with some of the most talented performers in the world. And for David Atkins, who was a guy who did the Sydney Olympics opening and closing ceremony. He was the artistic director, and he's done a lot of those kinds of shows around the world. So bizarre. My job was as the broadcast liaison. So we used to sit down and plan out the opening ceremony, and then I would work with a 3D artist to make like a 3D storyboard. And then the directors would use all the stuff that I put together from that to actually direct the program, so that they knew where everything was happening at certain times. So it was wild. It was a wild experience. I did stuff.
You were good.
No, things like I had my camera. I'd filmed some behind the scenes stuff that they turned into a behind the scenes thing. I was filming like a camel sleepover when they brought the camels in with the horses to make sure that they didn't freak each other out because they were going to be on the stage together. I saw like a dance off between all these dance companies from all over Asia, the best dance companies in Asia, all in this room having basically a dance off to Beyonce's Crazy in Love. And there was just me filming them. They're all dancing to my camera. It was oh my God, it was wild. It was just an incredible experience.
That gives me a great idea. Get crazy in that. No, okay. So tell me, I had to stop talking then because otherwise you weren't going to be on camera. Syria, Damascus, Jordan, these places, the places don't not exist anymore, but some of the parts of those places are sort of war ripped and savaged apart. Anywhere that you were that you've sort of seen photos of that looks completely different? Can you sort of picture any of those bits?
Yeah. Well, actually, the one that made me really sad, I mean, honestly, it was an amazing experience. We were staying, because we'd worked, one of the guys who ran the Syrian dance company, it was called the Anana Dance Company, and it was really prestigious in Damascus. I didn't know him, but the friend of mine, Sarah, who I was traveling with, she was put in touch with him. We basically flew to Lebanon, and then we were in a car with people we didn't know. It was a taxi with all these people we didn't know getting taken across the border. And we didn't really understand what was happening. There were people making phone calls and then talking to the driver, and they're all talking in Arabic. So we didn't know what was happening, but basically they just made an arrangement that the taxi driver dropped us on the side of a road in Damascus at night time.
Oh yeah,
and
fine.
this
That's
person,
fine. No problem.
this guy Murtaz was going to meet us, and he ran this dance company, and he took us to a little granny flat, which was freezing. It was one room that he'd organised for us. I don't know who it belonged to. So we had this tiny little room with a little oil heater, and then he brought us some food and stuff that we could eat. And then he organised a driver would pick us up every day, but the driver had to bring his wife, or we had to have Murtaz's wife or someone with us, because we couldn't be you couldn't be alone with a driver. And so he brought his wife and their little child. One day we drove out to Palmyra, which is one of the most famous Roman ruins in the Middle East. It's absolutely incredible. These ruins were massive, and these long colonnaded streets and the amphitheaters, everything about it was just amazing. And above was like, there's this hill where you look down on it, and the ruins up in the hill, and that was supposed to, according to whatever historical findings or legends or Bible studies, I think that was where John was supposed to have taken Mary to live after Jesus died, or all this sort of stuff. The whole thing was amazing. And they had the museum there. The family we were with had an amazing time. We had an amazing time. And then when I found out later that, obviously ISIS had taken over, it was really badly fought over, and they knocked down, destroyed a lot of it, and they beheaded the archaeologist who ran the museum there. So for me, that was huge, because you know, it made it seem a lot more real because I could picture it, and I had the photos and all the memories of wandering around through there, and even like talking to the kids who were there, who were trying to, you know, swindle us a little bit to make us get them to give us a tour around and then charge us exorbitant amounts for us. We were like, God, what happened to that kid? And we couldn't track down Metaz and his family either. We tried to. We went to his daughter's first birthday in Damascus, all this stuff, and we were never able to track them down because obviously there was no dance company anymore, and we don't know, we weren't able to get hold of them, so we didn't know if the family got out or not. So but Damascus, an amazing city. I just loved it. So very fortunate to have seen it when I did. You've
always, like, known you for a bit, and you've got to know you more so when we were in India, 4 or 5 years ago, and during the IPL, and based in Bombay and Mumbai. You were always taking photos and always doing video for it. Always, like, you always had an idea up your sleeve that this might be good for something. This might be some real good material for some other part of the show or some other little bit for the online. You've always had that sort of, oh, this might be handy, or I really need to get this on film? Have you always had that sort of, got to capture it?
Well, actually, the thing about me, my character flaw, or one of my many character flaws, so I have loads of ideas and I'm not always good at seeing them through to the finished product. So that's something that I've had to try and conquer, because I've lots of ideas. I can do this and that. So then sometimes it's trying to be a bit more disciplined. I've loads of ideas. Gosh, in my life I've had film scripts and ideas for TV shows and books and novels, all these sorts of things. But maybe there's a
Hey Mel.
Blessing in disguise. I've got time now.
Hey Mel, what are you up to at the moment?
Not much.
How are those red Rosellas?
Red Rosella? No, I did have a beautiful red Rosella in the garden earlier. So I'm trying to look at the positives. I haven't been in Australia really in autumn for ages, so I'm going to try and focus on the positive things about seeing the leaves turn and looking after my mom and all of that. So, all of these things. I don't always know if things happen for a reason, but I think there are ways you can get positives out of any situation. It does really depend on how you look at it. So I'm trying to look at all the good things. So
tomorrow you're going to start writing on that TV show script?
Well, not the TV show script. I might. I'm not going to say too much, but look, I'm pitching. I'm going to pitch a book idea. I don't know if there are publishers who would do it, or if I can get the agreements and the people to be involved. But who knows? I'm thinking about maybe writing a book because I could go. Honestly, I was thinking, I could go and obviously I'm going to still try and write stuff and do things remotely from a freelance perspective. But we were having this discussion of like, what could I do locally? I even thought about the local television station. If they had
you could head down the Superbike Club. You could go back down and cover the Superbikes down locally.
But I don't want to that's the thing with trying to isolate my mom and make sure that she's cool, because she's got, she's had a lot of medical issues. So it's like, I don't want to bring anything back in. So so who knows? So maybe I'll write a book. I always thought I had a book in me.
Everyone's got a book in them.
That's what they say.
Everyone's got a circle one. So what are you filling your days with at the moment? You just like lonely streets of Orange, walking around, trying to entertain yourself, picking fruit off the neighbours' fruit trees?
No, actually, I even thought about doing some fruit picking, going back to my roots. No. So at the moment, it's very much trying to limit the amount of news, because I feel like it can get in your head too much if you're just constantly scrolling through Twitter and Facebook and watching 24-hour news, all that sort of stuff. So trying to limit that. I like to catch up with what's happening in the morning and then probably have a look at night. I've been trying to catch up on some of the admin stuff that I probably have neglected.
Some invoicing.
Every day we go walking, so I'm trying to make sure that my mum is as fit and healthy as she can possibly be. So we're really lucky because just up the road here are the Botanic Gardens, and on a busy day, today was one of the busiest days, and I think I counted 8 other people there, and they were generally at quite a distance.
Orange
So,
I'm going to go with Orange is not particularly heavily, densely populated. Being
about more than 40,000 people.
Okay, all right.
So it's a decent town, but for whatever reason, we're just lucky that there's not too many people out there. So we're able to go out there and feel quite safe in not being near anyone. Yeah. So
Dad and
pushing Mum up the hills.
Yeah, good.
Oh, you're right.
Good. No, Dad and I, we just went out for a quick little sort of walk about 4:30, just to get out of the house a little bit. And he commented, I mean, I don't get to spend a lot of time here, I am at the moment, but he commented just at how quiet it was. And it was sort of serenely but eerily quiet. And we live on a street we live on is a reasonably busy road, and it was just, there was no cars. There was nothing. There was just this no noise, and for once there wasn't even a lot of wind in Wellington, and so there wasn't even like blowing through the trees sort of noise, and there was just this vacant, without, we've talked about, I've certainly seen some hospitals talk about apocalyptic scenes in New York hospitals and things like that, but there was just no one, as if, we were Will Smith, and we were, I was his dog and Dad was Will Smith. That's probably fair. And we were Legend, and it was just so eerily nothing, and it's mad.
Yeah, that hasn't hit home here yet, because there's still when I was driving around the other day just to sort of get a gauge for what was happening.
Like that, out the window?
Out the window. Yeah, mate. Oh, you?
Yeah,
oh, you, mate? Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh no, I always said I would never, ever, ever go out with anyone who owned you. Isn't that terrible?
A great utility
I
vehicle.
don't actually mean that. I don't mean that, but yeah, I do. No.
No. Yeah,
there are still loads of people out here. There's still loads of people on the street.
Is Australia are you in a lockdown? Are you in a like we are in New Zealand?
Sort of no man's land where we're not. We're being encouraged to stay at home, and they're sort of doing it incrementally, and I think people are kind of a little bit like, okay, so you're not supposed to go out unless you need to, and I think they're going to start coming down on that harder and harder. But it meant today, I mean, there's been this whole thing about hairdressers, because hairdressers are still allowed to be open, and at first you were only allowed to go for 30 minutes, then they changed that, and the next day it was 40 minutes, but then hairdressers are still closing because they're like, we don't want to stay open and get sick. So today I added something new. I trimmed my niece's hair. She's got really long, lovely, thick hair, like down to her waist. So that I was so nervous. My mum found my grandfather's old scissors. Like he's been dead for many years.
Like tree pruning, tree pruning.
No, they're like proper hair cutting scissors.
Orchard ones.
They must be like about 60 years old or something. They're still quite sharp. And so she said he used to cut the boy's hair, his son's hair, when like obviously great decades ago. So I had to do that and try and put the curve in, and I was so nervous.
Did you give her the Rachel bangs and then down to the back?
No, I kept it very simple, and just like with the curve down the back. She doesn't have a fringe, so I was like, let's just keep this simple. But I think I did okay. I did take before and after pictures, which you can see on Twitter.
Like Barbie, blonde Barbie, and then rock Barbie.
Not like your before and after pictures, you big meanie.
I should have put them out a bit more public, shouldn't I? Let's sort of stay on that topic, but sort of swing away from it. You and I love this about you. You're kind of a bit like me. You don't really sort of sit on things for too long. If someone's annoyed you, you're sort of a little bit like, oh, you've been a bit of an egg. I go back to being, let me get my words right, being a female in cricket industry and doing media, and how that is a tough job. And I remember seeing a lot of times when you're outside cricket grounds doing bits to camera, and reading about you and the abuse that gets thrown your way. How has that? Okay, you've been in media a long time. Is that changing, or is it still a bit average? Is it still really poor? Don't get yourself in trouble. Don't get yourself in trouble here, but it is interesting.
No, a lot of things absolutely have changed. So and there's different things like so the stuff you're talking about, the crowd outside. I don't know that has changed. Like luckily the women's T20 World Cup, I think it's a different fan base and stuff. But I was worried about that because I was doing a lot of filming outside of grounds at night with Lisa the Laker. The World Cup in England last year, I mean, I can't tell you some of the things that I was called or that were said to me because they were really gross.
Well, no, and I had. Here.
Well, yeah. Let me say it would require bleeping, and I had a camera operator and other, like someone like Graham Swan with me as well. So it wasn't like I was on my own. I mean, I've had the ECB issued me with my own security guards because it was at the point, it was the New Zealand series. No, it wasn't. They couldn't doing polite inquiries.
They couldn't see me doing that, Mel. So I was what I was doing was this. This is the polite inquiries thing. They couldn't see me doing that. I was just apologies.
Yeah, no. I was just trying to do straightforward match reports at Lords, and 2 days in a row. I mean, I'm not in tears often. I'm not easily brought to tears, but I had guys coming up and putting their hands on me, licking and biting my arm. They'd start off trying to kiss me and then lick and bite me, and then they'd go for the camera, and it was like, I've got to get out of here. You don't even
look like Red Rooster. I mean, Red Rooster's good.
I should have put some, I don't know, some nasty tasting chemicals on
Cayenne pepper.
Yeah, and so then they said because I used to have to go outside the ground because of the rights holders issues. Non-rights holders aren't allowed to film inside, so I'd have to go outside. So then they said to me, look, go and stand inside the grace gates because there are loads of stewards there. Man, there must have been about 20 stewards there when I tried to do it, and I had a guy break through them and basically come and almost try and crash tackle me. I had another group who stood there chanting at me to get my, what's out and all that sort of like, but they were doing it for 20 minutes, and I was trying to do this piece to camera, and in the end I couldn't, and I went back. I was like just trying hard not to cry because what frustrated me is I was really scared. I just started working for ESPN. And I was so scared because I just couldn't record it. I just couldn't do it. And I was so scared that they were going to say, oh, look, she can't do the job. What's the point if she can't do the job because of this? So luckily, when the MCC were horrified, the ECB were horrified, I had footage which I showed to them. And they issued me with my own security guards, the ECB. So that they would come out with me every day. I felt like such an idiot, honestly, such an idiot. But they would come and collect me at the end of every day so that I could go out and do my match report. And then eventually we came to an agreement. Sky were brilliant. They understood. We came to an agreement that I could film at the end of play inside the ground once they'd finished their presentation. And now all of us can do that, so we can do it safely. But I went through the same process with Cricket Australia. Same stuff used to happen to me here, where people saying all sorts of stuff. I had footage of Firdaus Munda and my colleague, outside Adelaide Oval one night, fending off drunk guys. And I think once I then went back to Cricket Australia and said, this isn't a great look. Responsible service of alcohol and everything. And so then we came up with an arrangement as well, whereby we found a place where they were happy for us to film inside that didn't show the field of play, and that's been extended to everyone. So I don't have that with the ICC because it's more difficult to manage, and I can understand why it's more difficult to manage. But yeah, I just feel like it's one of those things where I sort of feel like something bad has to happen to me, and then it will change. It's kind of like you sort of feel the bit of the canary in the mine thing. You know that something probably will have to happen, that will change things.
So
that stuff's not great.
Without sort of not being flippant, there's an element of that right now with this virus, in terms of when is someone that we know gonna get seriously ill and maybe die, and then, and then as a group of people, we take it a whole lot more seriously. I think we're lucky here that we've clamped down on it early, but given your situation, something very easily bad could happen, and it's not getting better, is it? It isn't getting better though, is it?
No, not for quite some time. I think it just sort of goes to show with all that. I mean, hindsight's always 20/20, isn't it? You can see, you see, like, I guess that's it, in understanding that you do have to plan for things, and what could be the bad thing that happens, and how do you prevent it. So it is the same with this now. When you look back at, even a few weeks ago, I still can't believe it was only a few weeks ago, we were at the Women's World Cup final with 86,000 people, and that's probably going to be the biggest sporting event for the entire year. But yeah, so I don't know. So all that's fine. Within the press box, as far as being female goes, nearly all the time it's fine. And there's still not a lot of us. There are a lot more women in broadcasting, so commentating. There are more. There aren't many in the actual press box. So there's a couple in England now who are there regularly. Not really in Australia, and not in. So like when I went to New Zealand, I was the only female on that tour. India, not a lot of women in the press box.
There's a couple in South Africa, obviously Fidos and Natalie. There's a couple there, but there's not.
Yeah, we'll see again. So Nat's part of the broadcast team. So there are a lot more in broadcast, and there are a lot more who work in the actual organisations like the ECB and the ICC and Cricket Australia. But you go to a press conference, and quite often you'll be the only one there in a press conference. But most of the time I don't notice it, because most of my colleagues, like, one of my colleagues said to me, I actually forget that you're female. Just never even doesn't even occur to me to think of it. And I take that as quite a compliment, just because it's because he said, I just think of you as one of us. I don't think of you as male or female or whatever it is. So that's a lot better. That's certainly a lot better.
What changes? What is it gonna take something, do you think, to happen? Something horrible
for the stuff outside the ground?
I mean, look, I'll take responsibility. In terms of being a male, gee whiz, I think we're idiots. I think we're dicks, and the sooner you girls take over this planet, the better, because we're idiots. We don't make very good decisions sober, let alone drunk. You girls need to. How do we? It's not like you can just punch them, is it? It's not like you can just do something, because that doesn't help the situation, does it?
No, no. In fact, I had a colleague who was all prepped. So he came. It was one of the few times, because normally I self-shoot, so I'm on my own. I set up the camera. People might not know this. I set up the camera, set up all the mics, frame everything up, flip the monitor around, adjust it, and I do it myself. So, and that makes you a bit more vulnerable, because you don't really have that vision of seeing when people are coming up. So I had a colleague who came out, bless him, he knew that I'd had lots of problems, and so he was all primed. And the first time someone came up and started being an idiot, he was like quite aggressive in telling him to get lost. And the guy turned like really aggressive, and luckily there was a steward there, and I had to say to my colleague, just let me handle it, because drunk guys like this, they can turn really quickly. So I try to be friendly and polite, but firm in trying to move them on. I've learnt that's the best way, and because you just don't know. And at the end of the day, what you want to do is just get the job done. I had a funny one with I had kids. They were teenagers. One guy, saying "F you" in the whatever, and there were a group of them. That happens all the time. That's really common. But what they do is they run up and they scream it in your ear, so you don't see them coming. And this kid, this is probably about 14, 15, did it. What was great is I was doing vox pops amongst. They were all like a cricket team visiting the SCG. And I just turned around and, like, quite politely but firmly gave it to him and said, I'm not interviewing any of you because they all wanted to be on camera. I said, because, like, you know, this is what your mate says. Anyway, there were some girls there. The girls turned on him and they ripped into him, and he like was red faced. And I thought, he's never going to do that to anyone else again, because his own peers have picked him up and actually laid into him.
I think actually that's a really that is happening a whole lot more, though, isn't it? Where girls are actually as a group, because there is an element that and look, I got a wife, I got a daughter, I got a mum, I got a sister, you know, all these things, and there is an element that the girls often haven't stuck up for other girls in certain places in time. They can be quite a weird sort of hierarchy, the matriarchy side of it, but girls hanging together now, I think that's really changing. I think you are becoming a lot more.
Well, one thing we're really lucky to have is this amazing network of female broadcasters, journalists. It's a really, really supportive network where we message each other, wish each other happy birthday, congratulate each other on things that we've done. And that's huge. People.
That's a new thing, though, isn't it? And what I'm saying, that's a new thing. That wouldn't have happened, say 5-7 years ago. That's a new thing where you've become a tighter group as opposed to fighting over certain.
Yeah, well, 5-6 years ago, there were hardly any of us. To be fair, either. Yeah. There weren't that many of us at all. You know, there certainly weren't many of us. So that. And people like Mel Jones, Ali Mitchell, Ebony Rainford Brent, Lisa Sthalekar, all of these people, they're amazing, and the support that we've given each other is I think really, really special, and I'm very grateful for it.
I outside looking in, I can see that. I can see how the girls are packing up, and it's wolf packing, if you like. You know, you sort of are ganging up, and I don't say that flippantly. I think it is quite obvious to see that, girls are backing girls. This girl can do it, and I believe that girl can do it as well.
Yeah, it's good. It has changed a huge amount. Like, I still can't believe it. When you look at 80,000 people, or whatever, at a women's cricket match, that's one thing. But two, I do find it amazing. I mean, I find it. I can't believe it sometimes that, you know, I get to commentate. So how did that happen? I know it happened. It all happened by mistake, really, a chance, that, as these things often do. But
like you being born, yeah.
Well, yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, sort of like that.
I didn't mean it like that.
Yeah.
I didn't mean it like that, Mel. But you know what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. But these weird opportunities that you get, and I mean, I'm really lucky to be around at a time that we get these opportunities, because I would never have thought, like 10 years ago, if you said you're going to get to commentate on BBC TMS or whatever, or, you know, I mean, I just did some commentating for ABC Grandstand in Australia in the Women's T20 World Cup. I would never have believed you, not for a second. I just would not have thought that would be possible, that I'd be able to do that. So, you know, weird.
All right. Well, what about 90-odd thousand in the MCG for a women's T20 game?
Yeah, that was ridiculous, and I still can't believe it was only a few weeks ago. And we were sat there afterwards, really nicely. We were sitting there in the press box afterwards. You know, it was right in the way, and down below us was Katy Perry, and we could see on the TV screens what was happening, but we could also see it down below us, and everything about that day.
You weren't in one of those cricket bat costumes?
I really wanted to be. I kept saying I desperately wanted one of those. That would have been so cool. Yeah. It's got. I've spoken to a few of the Australian cricket team about it. Like, then it's insane. It's only, I think, 7 or 8 years ago, a series against New Zealand. Can you still see me, by the way?
Yeah, it's getting a little bit dark out there, but you're getting a bit.
Yeah, it is.
Grainy.
Is that a little bit better?
Oh. Nicely done. Look at you know how to frame a picture. You have done this a few times before.
I'm not happy with this height.
No,
but at least not coming up
how you've positioned yourself with the tree on that, with the sun on that tree in the background. Nicely played, Melinda Farrell.
Yeah.
Well played, Lindy Lou.
Well played. No, there was a series, a Rose Bowl series between Australia and New Zealand, and Cricket Australia had tried to get a female commentator, and they tried the only people who were good, like Mel Jones. I only just found out like a few weeks ago that they'd also asked, who was it they asked? Oh, Kelly Underwood. Yeah, Kelly Underwood, who's obviously done a lot of AFL. So they'd asked her. None of them were available. And I think they were so desperate that they asked me. And it was their first attempt to live stream a cricket match.
Yeah. So
they'd never done it before. And so there's me, I had no idea what I was doing. I'd never commentated before. And I had to rock up. I'd made all of these comprehensive notes, but really didn't know what I was doing. And we were in a tower that was open, and it was so windy that the laptops, we had to drop everything and grab the laptops because they were almost blowing off. And the lip mic, the proper commentary mic, wasn't working. So they gave me one of those headsets that just had a little mic on it. And I had to hold it like this from the wind. And I was the only commentator. So I arranged for some players to just come up if they weren't playing. So for 100 overs a day for 3 ODIs, I commentated every ball like this, and then went like that for the comments, and then back like this, and then like that, and then we'd throw everything down and grab the laptops that were blowing away in the wind. 100 overs a day for 3 days in a row. I couldn't speak at the end of it.
That's the deep end there.
Yeah.
That's the deep end.
And then, it was amazing. It was terrible as well. It was worse commentating.
I've always talked about the different faces that we put on when we're doing different jobs, and I know that there's a media face, and then there's an entertaining face. And when I say face, I just mean personality. How do you, after doing 3 days of that, having not done it before, kind of blagging it, bluffing it to an extent? I say that with the utmost respect because I know you would have smashed it, but how did you sleep those nights? You get home and it's not just talking though, is it? You get home and you are physically wrecked, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. And right about the blagging and bluffing, I do that have done that nearly all my career. I was always a very good actress. Even at school, I was always quite good at acting. So whenever I'm not sure about what I'm doing, I think of it as I'm acting a role. So I would get into the thing of I'm acting, and today I am playing a commentator. And that would be how I would do it. I would just look on it as a role. But yeah, it can be exhausting. Even sometimes you say, I'll have this conversation with George where it sounds ridiculous.
What are those birds?
I know.
Beautiful.
They're Rosellas.
Are they red Rosellas?
Yeah. I think I need to try and find a light.
No, it's brilliant. It's fine.
Oh, is it? Okay.
You actually have got this gorgeous, you look beautiful right now. You got this gorgeous, you look all right. Yeah, nicely done, Mel.
To be fair, the darker it is, the better I look. I look great in pitch black. But yeah, George and I will often say too, like, it's really funny, even doing video at the end of the day, forget commentating exhausts me, but even doing video, especially days if you're writing and then you've got to go and do video afterwards, and it might just be a 5-minute video or a couple of 5-minute videos or whatever, but it's amazing how much energy you really have to get up and you have to throw that energy out there. And days when we're flat, when there've been rain delays and the cricket's been rubbish and everything else, it can be so hard to actually deliver that energy and punch it out and everything else. And if you've been writing as well, or if you've been commentating, which we've had to do, we're not digging ditches or doing anything like that for a living. But just the mental and emotional exhaustion that can hit you at the end of that is it's huge.
I remember Bangalore during IPL. So this is a year before we did IPL in Bombay. I remember having to do a to-camera piece about Chennai, the Chennai government, the Tamil Nadu government, possibly restricting games because of the treatment of the Tamils in Sri Lanka. And so the Tamil Nadu government were actually going to go, no games can play in Chennai, in our state, while the Tamils are being treated like they are in Sri Lanka. And I had to, so heavily political, over the top of sport, over the top of the IPL, which nothing should stop. And I'm actually in agreement with the Tamil Nadu government that says no cricket because of how the Tamils have been. And I remember finishing that piece and I slept for 10 minutes under a desk in the offices in Bangalore because it was just, I had to get my words so right, and I had to get I couldn't offend anybody because India's pretty tough if you get your words wrong. But it was one of the most exhausting 10 minutes of my life, and it was 10 minutes, and I had to have sleep under the desk. It was just ridiculous. You are going to have to move inside because you've almost faded out.
I am. Look, I'll go this way.
Oh, look, that's better.
The light will come up. Woo!
Oh, you're like an angel now, aren't you? Jeez, Mel, stop.
The light should stay on if I stay here, so.
Yeah, but it's behind you now, and I get a silhouette. Yeah, there you go. Look at that.
There we go.
Nicely done. How are your shoulder muscles? Can you hold that for very long?
Do you know, it's not as heavy as a microphone. Sometimes
Sure.
in press conferences, oh my gosh, especially when you offer to hold someone else's, so you've got 2 microphones or whatever, those things get really heavy.
Yeah. You've got this whole Bridget Bardot thing going on at the moment with those curls. You did
Right.
your hair. Did you hear?
I didn't do my hair today. I'm telling you, I did not do. Okay, what I've been finding, one thing about being home, I'm trying to be really, really strong about getting up at a reasonable hour, having a shower, getting dressed, just like making sure that I do my hair, maybe put on some mascara or whatever, because I just want to feel a little bit normal. If I sit around in my pajamas all day, every day, I will not be in a good headspace very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, you spend quite a bit of the year in Birmingham as well, and that can be, I don't want to say a dreary place, but it can be a dreary place. You're missing the dreary Birmingham, or you're okay out there in Orange?
I mean, I'm really lucky where I live because, as you know, I have the resi, so I can go for a run around the reservoir.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice to have my own place there and my own space. I've got my local, The Plough, where I like going. I've got my little Italian restaurant where I used to love to go down for something to eat. And it used to be a bit of a haven from being on the road all the time because I have obviously traveled a lot. I've never been there in winter, proper winter. So I was there until December last year, and that was actually the latest I've been there. So that was hard. I was like, God, people do winter here? What the hell?
Yeah.
So in some ways, I probably more miss the whole thing about being there at this time of year is lovely because it's spring and everything is starting to come out and it's sort of the start of the season. You know, I know that cricket's going to be starting and I'm going to see all my friends because the best part about cricket I maintain is the fact that it's an amazing family, an international family, and I love it. And I always joke about getting my almost like I have a 2-yearly quota of hugs, and obviously with social distancing there's no hugs, but the first day of the cricket season in England, the first day of the cricket season in Australia, it's just so awesome. And you go around, you see everyone, and it's you know, hugs here and hugs there, and I really love that. And there's that lovely period of catching up after a period of time. And it's the same. So if Pakistan is touring and I see my mate Zanab and Maza, or you know, whoever, even the New Zealand guys, I got to see, you know, Mark Ginty was there this year, and over in the World Cup when I saw Andrew Alderson and caught up with him, and you know that you have all these people in different countries, you don't see them for ages, and then all of a sudden you hang out for like a month.
You're in each other's pocket for a real amount of time. And
exactly.
it is a family, isn't it? It's a real brother,
yeah.
and then you go off to university, and then you come back, and it's pretty mad, isn't it? And you do miss
that's probably that's what I'm missing the most about not being in Birmingham. Oh, wait.
She's still there.
Yes, I have to come up and it's on a timer, so I'm going to have to do that a few times. This will be fun. This is content. This is good content, isn't it?
I think it is called content. Oh, God. Okay, let's. And now you've chopped your phone off. Yeah, well done.
No. I'm
right,
still here.
We're back. A bit serious again. How did you wanted to do this? Did you want to be this person? Did you want to be here now? Did you want to be? Did you want to be covering sports? Did you want to be?
No. So I loved sport when I was a kid, and I used to, particularly, the three sports I really loved watching on TV were rugby league, obviously in the winter, and then cricket and tennis in the summer. And I used to sit there. And I used to watch cricket until the end of the over, and then because they were often on at the same time in January, when the Australian Open was on and ODIs. So I would have the cricket on until the end of the over, and then I would switch over.
Is that Mrs. Farrell?
Yeah, she's looking out to me today. She's gone back in again. Creaky door. She put WD-40 on the hinges. It doesn't seem to work. But I'd watch cricket to the end of the over, then I would switch it over to the tennis, and I would watch the tennis until the game break, and then I would switch it back to the cricket to the end of the over and the over break. And I used to watch that. Obviously, I didn't have I hadn't progressed to the several screens and all that the way I do it now. I used to love watching those, but then I did want to be an actress. When I was a teenager, I thought I wanted to be an actress or a film director. That was a thing. So I did a lot of acting, did a lot of stuff on the stage. And then my dad in particular didn't want me to be an actress. He really just didn't think that was a good career move. So he probably discouraged me as much as he could. But he wanted you to work the orchard. He wanted you to work the orchard. No, he wanted me to be a tennis player. He paid for tennis lessons, and I'll never forget, because we had a tennis court at home on the orchard that my grandfather had built, a clay tennis court. My dad got a bowling machine from the sports club next door and tried to recalibrate it to throw tennis balls. Yeah. Problem is, there's a bit of a weight difference between the tennis ball and the cricket ball. So I was like this little kid on the other side with this machine shooting tennis balls at me at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and I was like, I was terrified of the damn thing. So I failed to become a Wimbledon star, unfortunately. Went to university and did sort of production, still thinking then, okay, film director, but then I also studied journalism. I did a mixture of journalism and TV production kind of subjects at university. And then came over to England and fell into working as a director's assistant for a bit. Really wanted to report. And
that was in sport though, wasn't it? You were behind
on the Super League.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, but I came back to Australia, and I'd done enough sort of producing, just on my own time. I used to produce or hassle the people at Sky Sports News to let me do a story or something. So I had enough of the show reel that I came back to Australia and was able to start getting work like locally at Prime, at Fox Sports News in Sydney. And so it sort of just grew from there. So a lot of it just came from there was an opportunity here or an opportunity there. And I went from doing all sports to, I don't know, just cricket was cricket as I go up the stairs once more. And
I think it's
hello.
It's about 3 minutes, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So I went from doing all sports to just doing more and more cricket. I mean, it's a great sport. It's an awesome sport to come.
Oh, of course, it is a great sport, and it's full of highs and lows, and not only for the players, for everybody else on the sideline, it is full of highs and lows there. This is a bit serious, I guess. Are you kind of paying it forward for the next people behind you in a way, in terms of what you're doing, and Do you acknowledge it, or are you just like kind of trying to do the best you can, but are you mindful of who's going to come behind you and the next people, the next TV stars after you?
I've never no TV star.
You know what I mean. You know what I mean.
Painful. I mean, yeah. I always think that you should try and do that. I've had people who've been very helpful to me throughout my career.
Hey, do you know what? That's actually a really average question, because that is just picking on you as a female. No, it is an average question, because that.
No, it's not, because I don't even take it as a female, because I've tried to help other people with their careers as much as I possibly can, and I do know that I've been able to hook people up. Ooh, are you still there? Yes. I've been able to hook people up, and they've ended up getting work, and that's always incredibly satisfying, or trying to be there to help others. There aren't a lot of young female reporters coming through. There's just not a lot. There's a couple in England. It's not really many in Australia. So I do think that they will find some things easier. Probably some stuff that I can't even. Well, I can say that things like sexual harassment. I think that we're doing a lot of work now in making sure that there are ways in the press box to deal with sexual harassment, because I think just being able to work with the bodies and becoming more aware of how difficult it can be to talk about that stuff or report it, especially in a small environment. So that's something that definitely has happened in the past couple of years, and that not just me, but other females as well who've been in that area, in talking to various boards to just make sure, right, we've got a way to deal with this, because it's not a normal working environment. It's not like we all work for the same company and there's HR and there's a manager. Everyone works for different companies, and yet we all probably work together more than we do with our own people in our own company. So it's an unusual one.
Do you see what I'm like? That's kind of do you see what I mean? Like when I asked it, and then I was like, "That's a bit." Do you see what I mean? It was a bit of an average question, because it kind of is picking on you as a female, and it shouldn't be like that. I kind of felt. Now I regret asking you, but I appreciate your answer, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think it's always like that. But you talk about that, don't you? About the trailblazers who have gone before, like, even look at what Ali Mitchell's done many years now, and she has paved the way for other people, and I think I think that will happen. I think eventually there'll be more. There's just not a lot of turnover in cricket, so there are a few opportunities for people to come in, young people to just.
I've got a little bit of a theory on that, and that was because can't get your light on while I talk. Because there wasn't and hasn't been a lot of money in the women's game, so that meant a lot of women cricketers didn't stick around as long. And now there is more media, and the female cricketers can play for longer, so there are more opportunities now, and there is a lot more women cricketers in commentary boxes. And I think it's because there is a little bit more money in the game, so they can play for longer. Personality becomes more known, and you take a vein out of men's cricket in that regard. Commentators are typically former players and former captains. There's a big element now that they're playing longer, and they're allowed to have opinions. Not that they weren't allowed to have opinions, but they can voice their opinions. There's a platform for it, and they are having a lot more opportunities to improve, because no one walks into the commentary box very good. And you've worked with some of the. You've been there, I'm sure, but you've also worked with some of these, especially in Australia, in England, I should say. You've worked with a lot of these newer commentators when you started there, and they're now hosting and fronting programs.
Yeah, I still think of myself as new, because I've only ever been able to commentate on a certain number of games per year, because I was full time obviously with ESPN.
Right.
So
are you like imposter syndrome, or a little bit different?
Oh God, yeah. Oh, I mean, when I first did it, so when I was talking before about that commentary I did on the first ever streamed games that Cricket Australia did, and I'm not talking about women's cricket, I'm sure it was the first time they were just experimenting with streaming. And then I was coming over to the UK. I'd flagged a trip. I was coming over to try and get a job at ESPN, and I couldn't get the editor of the website to answer my emails. And I knew, this is so crazy, I knew he was going to be at the Oval on the third day of the fourth test between India and England. And I knew that if I was there, he couldn't just not answer my email. So I fabricated this whole idea of this trip. I'm going to go over there. India and England's women's team are playing a series. I'm going to go and try and cover that and see if I can just get some work doing it. And I had hardly any. I think one organisation, the Wisden India, had offered me a small amount. I went back and I worked at, I was going to do my old job at Sky as a freelancer, as a director's assistant. So I'd lined them up to just try and cover earn enough to pay for my flight and cover me getting there. And then 2 weeks before I arrived, I had an email from Adam Mountford from BBC TMS, the producer, saying, look, I know this is a bit left field, but do you fancy doing some ball-by-ball commentary for us? Because Ali Mitchell wasn't available. She was doing something else. And I was like, oh, my God. And
yeah.
Sure. Honestly, I was terrified. Talk about having to put myself in a role. So I went over there, and they were playing at Wormsley. We're in a tent. It was very hard to commentate because
I've listened.
No TV.
I listened to that game.
Yeah, well, no. I was so terrified. But you know what? The people at the BBC, you talk about paying it forward. People like Charles Dagnall and Daniel Norcross. And Adam Mountford, they were amazing. Oh, I've gone dark again. They were so supportive, and it wasn't like someone coming in and you're protecting your patch. They were amazing, and they really helped me. And so then I ended up doing quite a few games that series, and ended up writing for various publications as well. And that allowed me to be at the Oval on day 3 of the 4th test. And Sam Bal, the editor of Cricket Info, was there, and he couldn't avoid me. So we had a chat, and within 24 hours, I think it was, we shook hands, and I had a job, which is crazy. So I literally flew around the other side of the world, doing everything I could to earn whatever money, just so that I could be in the right place at the right time.
I have a similar Sambit story as well. So Sambit Bal, who's in charge of ESPN, Cricket Info, Disney owned, etc., happened to be doing a little bit of commentary at Lord's, and I knew he was going to be there, so I made sure I could have a media pass and get in, and I ended up doing some work, but doorstepped him with a story that I wanted to write. It's one of my first sort of non-blog articles. And because I'd already had some contact with Sam about the blog thing, but I'd never met him face to face, and I did want to take writing articles a bit more seriously, and basically doorstepped him with an article idea and a few bullet points, and he couldn't say no in essence, because and it's amazing, isn't it? How much courage you have to pluck up, and how much tenacity it takes to drop your guard and to allow someone to say no to your face, and that happens. That is tough. Yeah, well done you.
Yeah, well, it was for me, because honestly, I didn't have a lot of money. I mean, things were really tight back here. They weren't great, because I'd actually gone to work for Cricket Australia before that, and I'd signed a 2-year contract with them, moved to Melbourne, and I didn't enjoy working there at all. It was not great, and within 3 months I was like, this is not a good place for me.
I didn't like a lot of my interactions with the Australian cricket team either. So fine, it's cool.
You know what? Well, it wasn't.
No,
it wasn't the Australian cricket team. It was. I mean, we've seen the reports. I know. Yeah, the players were all fine, but the organisation and the job, it was not great.
Not
and
for
so
you at the time.
3 months into a 2-year contract, I resigned and left.
But that takes courage too, doesn't it?
Well, it might have taken courage too, but I was also, I don't know, I was desperate too because I didn't then have any work. I had to move back to Sydney. Mm-hmm. I had no work. I was taking anything I could. I mean, I've been at stages before where, I'll be really honest with you, when things have been tough, I've had to pay my rent with my credit card. Mm-hmm. And that's not a great place to be. So, you know, when I went over to England, I did not have a lot of money. I'd saved up enough for the flight over there, and I needed to do whatever I needed to do to earn enough money to pay for accommodation, and, you know, earn enough to then come back. But so, I don't know, it was crazy. It was a risk, but, you know, I always figure of, you know, what's the worst that can happen? Someone can say no, and once you accept that that's the worst that can happen, then, you know, you can try stuff really and not be afraid.
You've tried lots, yeah.
Yes, I'm. Except the only thing I'm not having much success is making like stay on. That was a really beautiful moment as well.
Yeah. And pitch black. She's ended the phone call on that. Like, oh, that was.
Wow.
Hey Mel, well on that note, hey, nice little statue you've got down there. She's delicious.
Oh, that's the little whistling boy down there.
Oh, it's a little whistling boy.
This is my mum's thing. She's also got like a little Easter Island statue, which she said she bought because I've always wanted to go to Easter Island, and so I've never been there. But hey, the nearest thing, it's almost the same. It's almost the same.
Just the same. I mean, the same size. They just look bigger on camera, don't they? Camera. Hey, Mel, I'll finish it then because this has been too good. This is cool for me because I've actually got to learn a load more about you that I never have ever had the opportunity to learn, and I'm completely fortunate, blessed, lucky to have met you and had to hang out with you. So thank you for this. This is cool, and it is another voice, and I love it that you've had a completely different story to a lot of people, but you're kind of making it work. You're kind of making it work.
Kind of making it. It's a bit tricky right now, but you know, I figure that at some point you just have to ride this out and hope that on the other side of it we have all of our loved ones still with us. We have cricket back, and then it'll, you know, I will always appreciate the experiences that I've had so much more, I think, for what's happening now, and I hope that they'll come back again.
So in the last couple of days, I've been completely humbled by a little bit of the cricket family, sort of looking after a couple of things that have been sort of stressing me out. And it's easy to tell someone good things come to good people, yeah. And I will easily throw that to you, Mel. You know, good things come to good people. It's harder to take it when someone says it to you. I never realised how hard it is to take when someone tells you that good things come to good people. And I think it's quite a hard one to take. But I think, Mel, you're a good person, and I've always enjoyed catching up with you. And this has been a treat for me. This has been just a real good chat and a good catch up. And I hope that the people that have watched and listened, that there's something in here that clicks or that makes someone want to take a chance, because that's what you've done your whole life. You've taken so many chances.
Yeah, I suppose I have.
You have.
We only get one life. We've got to.
But that's a real flippant way of flicking it off, isn't it? Because you have, and it's taken courage, and it's taken a lot of energy, and it takes a huge amount of emotional emotional work to be that person that's always smiling and always ready to go. Well done, you. Love you for it.
Oh, thanks. Well, it's been great to catch up with you too. And remember, we'll always have Mumbai.
We'll have that. We'll always have Sula red wine and
Sula red wine and a dodgy shopping centre next door.
Yeah, that shopping centre was right. And I'll always have my Sheena Easton memories. I caught that morning train back tonight again. Yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
Probably a good time to finish it. Mel Farrell, love you. See you soon. And I hope you have a nice time in Orange. Take care.
I will too. You take care.
Ha! Perfect. How's that? Fade to black.
Oh dear. Hang on. Oh.